Gents, I just want to pause the episode for a moment to let you know about the Strong Men of Value Academy. You will have heard me refer to it a number of times, and I want to bring more attention to it. So this isn't just a program, it's a life-changing environment and community of men who are focused on personal and professional growth. We're looking at areas of relationships, wealth, and health, things to help you thrive and maximize your life. Imagine having bi-monthly one-on-one coaching sessions with myself, weekly group coaching calls, and an incredible brotherhood of high achievers by your side. Now we're diving into resilience, leadership, and holistic growth to not just succeed in your career, but to thrive in your health and your relationships. Your journey to greatness, it starts here. So join the movement and you can apply for the Strong Men of Value Academy. You can head to themanthatcanproject.com to find out more. In this episode, our guest is Brad Munro, tuning in for the second time since episode 233. Now, we're talking about IVF. So currently around 1 in 20 children born in Australia are through IVF. And Brad's family went through that process, and now he's got a lovely daughter and 2 incredible sons. So in this podcast, we talk about the experience of, being checked out and realizing he was part of the complication, or not even complication, but part of the challenge, how he, processed that, and then what it was like then going through IVF from that point, and what he did to improve his sperm count, but also create an incredible family. So remember, guys, there's so many incredible tips in here, and I know it's becoming more common than ever, IVF. So one thing that I wanted to highlight that this doesn't make you, and we touch on this in the podcast, any less of a man. It's just another way of, getting to an end result of creating a family. So Brad is incredible. He's given you options to reach out to him in the Man That Can project. So enjoy this episode. Remember, if you're tuning in for the first time, like, share, and definitely subscribe to this podcast to hear more from our incredible guests. And if you haven't already checked out the Inner Circle program, it is our incredible community, a global community that runs online, where we help men create more momentum in their life. Let's dive into the episode.
You're listening to the Man That Can project with Lachie Stuart, a global movement created to empower men and open up what's really going through their minds by having real and raw conversations about life's unique challenges and our individual ways of processing it all. Welcome to the Man That Can project.
Welcome back to another episode of the Man That Can Project podcast. I'm your host and founder, Lachie Stuart, men's performance coach, and we're focused on empowering men to take ownership for their life and learn to love themselves and recognize the value that they have to give the world. Today's guest is back for another run. Brad Munro, welcome back, mate. You were previously on episode 233, we just worked out. So 40, 50 episodes ago, but it's great to have you back. So for those who want to get a good backstory on Brad and some of his experiences to date, go back and listen to episode 233. Today we're going to dive into some discussions around IVF, which is an experience that you've been through with your partner and your children, so your wife and your children. But first, before we dive into that, how you going, mate?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Mate, I'm fantastic. We've been trying to tee this up for a while. It's funny, we work in the same office together every Tuesday, and we have been teeing this up for a while. But one thing that was really important for you to do was have a chat to your wife about it, just to recap on things, so you could remember, I guess, what it was like for you as best as possible.
Yeah, I was just talking to you about it before, Lachie, where we were really open about that we were doing IVF and going through the process with people, but at the same time now we talk about it still, but we've blocked out what actually happened.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's funny how we can do that with events in our life, and especially something as I guess significant as it was. But I thought we would get some stats around it as well, because I know a lot of I speak to men fairly regularly, and it's surprised me how common it is. And then obviously you're in that same boat. You speak to people all the time, and you go, "Oh, mate, that's what I went through," and they go, "Oh, yeah." It is apparent. It's more common than we have been maybe not even led to believe. It's just something that is not really spoken about. So that's why I really am grateful for yourself and also Kelly, allowing you guys to share the experience, right? Because I think it's needed, and a lot of people are going to be on the other side of this taking a lot of key points away and also experience, because I really want to dive into what it was like for you. You know, obviously IVF, as I've got up here on the computer, almost 1 in 20 babies in Australia is born through IVF currently. Like that's a pretty significant statistic. So fair chance that someone that you know is going through IVF. So to really understand what it's like for individuals going through it, I really want to dive into, you know, your head, which will be fun.
Yeah, diving in this head again.
But take us back, you know, so obviously your daughter, the boys, so your daughter's 7.
Yeah, no, Lucy's 6. She'll be 7 in August.
Yeah, so this year.
Yeah, she'll be 7 this year.
So,
and then the boys, who are twin boys, turned 4 just the Saturday gone. Yeah.
And I saw you took them away to SeaWorld, which was good fun.
Yeah, took them away to Wet Wild on the Friday, and then they spent the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday at SeaWorld and stayed down there. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So take us back to, I guess, 7 years ago. What was, you know, obviously you'd made the decision that you wanted to have kids.
Yeah, so we decided we were, you know, in that area of we were married, probably wanting kids, but at the same time, Kelly was getting a lot of stomach pains, cramps, and it had been going on a while, to the point where we were in Wellington, living in Wellington at the time, and she was walking along the waterfront to work, and she actually keeled over in pain, and it was endometriosis. So I got diagnosed wrong there, and then we moved to Australia 2012, and it got diagnosed here pretty early on, 2012, is from what we can remember, that she had endometriosis. Okay.
Yeah, right. And so obviously from that point on, you know, I don't know too much about endometriosis, but I also know that it's a highly common condition with women, and it's becoming more prolific,
and maybe one of the reasons also why there's a lot more IVF, because endometriosis obviously, not obviously, it affects women getting pregnant. So Kelly had an operation for endometriosis, a hard word, and obviously had a lot taken out, and they said, look, you're going to have to go the IVF route for kids. So we were like, okay, let's go straight into that. We got referred to a doctor, and straight away the doctor said, well, we need to get your husband checked out too.
Yep.
And, you know, no worries. I went and got checked out. I came back as a problem as well.
Yep.
So I could be well wrong with the numbers here. Let's say a normal guy ejaculates 15,000 sperm. I was around about 3,500.
Could that just have meant, though, that you had stronger soldiers, that you didn't need as many? Or
I reckon
like
they
the
were
Spartans,
they were
like 300?
They were super strong.
Yeah. No.
Not really. It also came back to I had a operation when I was younger, which was an orthopixy, which basically one testicle was sitting higher than the other. And they bought the operation, and it brought them back in alignment. Well, it mustn't have worked. So one of the old ball bags weren't working properly.
The old Johnson bearers was not working.
So I was an issue too. So both of us put together, we're not going to be making babies in a hell of a hurry.
So what was that like for you when you received that news? Like, talk us through what went through your mind.
I was thinking about that yesterday, Lachie, and I remember distinctly remember getting it. The message was in my car. I took it on the phone, and the doctor sort of said, you know, you're an issue too. Not in a bad way. He sort of, you know, said we need to concentrate on you as well. So I suppose at the time I thought, well, geez, that's pretty bad. Why couldn't I come to the party? But I remember also thinking, the more we talked about it with Kelly, was it's kind of a good thing, because we're both at fault, not one person at fault. Yeah. So maybe in a lot of IVF cases, it's one person at fault. So they'll feel bad about it.
Do you think it's even fault? Because I think for a lot of the listeners who are thinking about this, like feeling like you're at fault, is probably a lot of the pressure that stigma or pressure that comes with it. And, you know, I this is once again an assumption, but I would say there's people who are wanting to have babies. So you're not at fault, because your body, you know, some things we don't have control over.
Exactly.
So yeah,
So fault's probably
Fault's
terrible
probably-
word.
yeah.
We were the issue that
Yep.
we were the. We also had a condition each that didn't help us
Yep.
produce a baby.
Yep.
So we went the IVF route, and one of the things that was really interesting was when we got to the doctor, he said, "You guys are perfect, specimens as such,
Is that the first time you'd heard that?
Probably not perfect specimen. Was probably embellishing the story a bit,
Yep.
but in regards to our health, we were both fit, active,
Yep.
healthy, led a pretty good lifestyle. So we were good candidates for this. So we thought this is going to be easy.
And so just on that, right? Like, so being obviously looking after your physical health is highly important in wanting to have children. And then obviously if you have to go down the IVF route, it's probably more important than ever before. So for those who are listening who maybe aren't prioritizing your health and you're thinking in the future you want to have a family, it's probably something you want to get in check with or in tune with.
Hugely lucky. If I jump forward a bit, after the first, let's say 2 or 3 IVF rounds, and we were doing it anyway, I really, Kelly and I locked into our health even more. So we were already probably not drinking and stuff, but we locked it in. We were buying thousands of dollars worth of supplements. We were doing everything. We were getting, I can't even think, acupuncture.
Yeah.
We were supplementation. And I can't remember which round it was, but they had my sperm rechecked.
Yep.
And it was after 3 or 4 months.
Yep.
Doctor walked into the room, opened the sort of lid of my sperm being rechecked, and he was like, "Oh no, this isn't right." And he walked out of the room, and he come back, and he was like, "What did you do?" Because I'd tripled my sperm count. Yeah. So I think it brought me back up to being half a man, you could nearly say. Or I was in a better, I'm going to say I was around 13,000 or 12,000. I can't remember numbers, but I remember I tripled what I was.
So even like at that point, you just say half a man. Was there moments where you felt like you weren't? Did you ever experience thoughts like that?
I think I definitely did, but they went to the wayside pretty quick, because to me, it is what it is.
Yeah. So what advice? Well, not advice, but I guess there's men out there who are maybe not feeling like they are a true man because they've got their own challenges in that space. What would you sort of advice would you give them, or maybe strategies that they could look to? Because these things are out of your control.
Work on the things you are in control of. Work on your own headspace. I don't think I had to work on that too much, but work on your health. Health is so big to getting a better quality sperm, a better quantity of sperm.
Yep.
So again, being active. There's so many different things like you can't get the area too hot, too cold.
Really?
You can't constrict it.
The old gonads have got to be.
You gotta actually. I was, and I hope this guy. I'm not going to mention names, but I spoke to a guy the other day who's going into the IVF process at the moment, and he sort of said to me, "Oh, should I be having ice baths?" And I said, "Well, no, actually not from my point of view, because you want to be keeping those swimmers
like an incubator, mate.
Good temp,
like a
mate.
Chicken egg, just turning it."
Another thing I did quite a bit of is I didn't have my phone in the pocket. Took my phone out of the pocket.
It's interesting that you say that. It'd be like moving on generation after generation because we are so glued to our phones and we do have it in our pocket. Wonder what the implications of that will be.
Big time. I think it's an implication. Other people might not. I think the other thing I remember seeing when I went to see the doctor, and I can't remember what sort of doctor it was about my testosterone and things like that. He said to me, have you done steroids before? And I said, no. And he actually asked me again, have you done steroids again? And I said, look at me, mate. What do you think? And he laughed and he goes, well, you're a PT, you're in that trade of thing. And he goes, we're going into a really big cycle of kids were doing steroids at sort of that 18 to 22 years of age.
Yep.
It's 10 years on from that steroids use, and they're going, I want to have kids.
And they can't.
And they're coming to see him.
It's so, and that's why we need conversations even around this, but just education on steroid use. I've never taken steroids. I've had mates that have, and obviously they blew up and everything like that. They got what they were generally using it for, but you think about the implications. And even for me, I get worried about, my recreational drug use. I used to punish them, gear back in the day, and I think about how that's going to, what are the implications going to be in the future around my brain or other components of my body as a result of that. And a lot of us are short-sighted, especially as a kid. Like, you don't have much responsibility, so you don't think about the future. But that's why I think it's important especially for people like you or everyone, to share their stories so we can think about what it's like in the future or the challenges that we can face, because we look at people like, before you shared with me that you went through IVF, I would never have known. And a lot of people probably, even when they speak to you and you go, yeah, I did IVF, they're like, what?
Yeah.
And we're all walking around with these preconceived ideas of what we think people are like or what we think people's stories are. And unless we start sharing them, we can't add value, but we also can't educate.
Exactly.
Because, often we buy into story, not information. We've got, I don't have a textbook here, but let's say if I were to jump on here and look up IVF, there's no emotional connection to it. Whereas now that I know your experience, it really fascinates me, to know, because then I can research stuff, but also chat to you about it, which is brilliant. I know a lot of other blokes out there who are going through similar things, or I may even have that challenge. I don't know yet. I'll be fucking pissed if I do, because the amount of money you spend on all the contraceptive stuff, and it's like, man,
I didn't need that.
Yeah, I didn't need that. Give me my money back.
And another example was just last week. I think this is why we got talking. We need to do that podcast. There was a guy in the gym, and he saw me on the hip thruster, and he goes, "Oh, I know why you've got 3 kids." And I laughed, and I said, "Well, my kids have 3 rounds of IVF, so it can't be for that." And he laughed, and then he looked at me, and he was like, "Mate, I've just done IVF, my wife and I."
Yeah.
And he looked at me a little bit, like blank, and then just sort of let it all out and, talked about it. And it didn't go in depth about it, but he did say he was the one with the condition, or the one that wasn't playing the game amongst those two. So it was the male. Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, you don't know who it's going to strike. So I even think, do you think, knowing what you know now, is there any educational conversations that could be had in the lead up to that, if, to have you prepared for if one of you's, unfortunately not playing the game? And because we don't want to carry that guilt, or I don't know what other emotions maybe are experienced, but I'm sure there's a lot of stuff. So how can we best support each other? And it's, once again, it's not fucking personal. In my belief, I'm sure people take it that way maybe and go, fuck, I wanted a kid with you, but now I can't have it. But my idea is it's not personal. So what can we do to best prepare if that does, that red flag does come up for us?
I suppose the biggest one is we'll be prepared that could happen, because it's becoming more prevalent than we probably realise. And again, people just need to be, if they're comfortable with it, talking about it. And like I said, the whole way through, Kelly and I were very open about it. People knew about it. But like I said before, we sort of shut that side of our books now because we've got the kids, but more than happy to talk about it. In regards to being ready for that, it's that it could happen. So if you're listening to this, it can happen to anyone.
Yeah.
And it could be the female, it could be the male, it could be whatever.
And it doesn't matter how fit or healthy you are. Like you said, you already had the gold standard 5-star rating of health, which obviously helped you with the IVF, but you didn't fall pregnant straight away normally either. So, or normally, or define normal now.
Yeah,
Everything's
exactly.
Normal, which is great. But even just reading here, and this will sort of segue us into what that IVF experience was like for you. It says here that there were 14,355 babies born through IVF treatment in Australia in 2018. Right, so 14,000, pretty big number. But then there were also 84,000 initiated IVF cycles in 2018. So that's almost a quarter, right? With that, maybe 1/5, 1/6, something like that.
Something like that.
Right. So obviously it's not a guaranteed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not.
So what was that? Did you nail it the first time?
Far from it, mate. My wife and I had again talk about this last night. We did 9 rounds of IVF.
Yep.
And there was like another round in between the 8th and the 9th, which we had embryos stored from a round that we used.
Right, explain that to me because you just lost me.
For IVF, what happens is they take the egg, inject there's different ways of doing it, but they take the egg, get the sperm injected in and create an embryo, and then they grow it. Okay, so you might get 9 around.
So does it then go in an incubator then? Or
Yeah, for a certain amount of days.
Yeah, awesome.
It can be, I think it's around 5 days again. Blocked it out of my mind. I can't remember, but the process happens 5 days, and then they get that and they put it back into the lady. Pretty quick process that. And a lot of people can, from that process, get, let's say 15 embryos. Okay?
Yep.
They get stored, and they might only put one in each time, so they can keep using those up. They're in storage, so they don't have to go through.
You've got 15 rounds from that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we never got that. So the first round we got, and again, can't remember. Let's say we got 3.
Yep.
They put them in wherever they put them, and 1 survived. They put that in Kelly. Damn it, didn't go through. She goes through the process again. So this happened the first, 2 times. We're like, geez, we can't even make many of these embryos. Let alone to put more in storage, and each time it's a costly affair. Obviously, it costs each time you do it.
I didn't think
that.
about
Monetary wise, I always say I'd have a freehold house now. My kids are going to listen to this when they're old and go, great, I've got a freehold house.
But obviously, it was something that you guys were committed, which I think is awesome because there's a lot of parents out there. I'm not going to say there's a lot, but there are definitely parents out there that probably shouldn't be parents.
And that's one of the things that I'm leading to before, Lachie, where, they said you're a perfect two to produce a baby, yet you don't, and then you got people in other areas who are drinking, taking drugs, and they've got several children. Yeah.
Was that confronting for you guys?
I remember being maybe around 5 or 6 rounds in going, what the, these people living in certain areas of Brisbane, and they've got 7 kids, and they're taking drugs, they're drinking. How does that happen? But those sort of feelings and thoughts would only last no longer than 24 hours.
Yeah,
easy. So we get the news. No, it doesn't. It hasn't happened. Kelly and I'd have our little dwell. That was it.
Why do you feel that you were in such a strong position to be able to process that so quickly? Because I know, once again, I think to highlight for everyone, this isn't a guideline. You're not going to just. I don't believe everyone would process it in 24 hours. I know some people it might, take months. Like, I guess it's a form of trauma or grieving.
Absolutely.
Right? So there's no blanket approach. So what do you feel allowed you to be in that position where you because to me that seems like a pretty quick turnaround.
Yeah, I don't know. It's me, Lachie. I move on pretty quick from things, I think. Again, that might be military or it's just me. Deal with the situation. It's dealt with. Let's move on. Is that going to haunt me in the future? It may do. I don't think it will. I've got 3 beautiful kids now, beautiful wife. But Kelly was also good too. She'd get the phone call. No, get off it. She'd have a cry, I'm sure. She was upset. It would not last. Would just be like, okay, this weekend we're going to let our hair down. Would either, might go have a few drinks or something. Do that. Bang, we're back into it. Okay, we're going another round. Let's go.
It's epic.
And it just go.
Fucking persistence.
Yeah, well, look, we started IVF in we think it was late 2013, and it took us 8 rounds of IVF. It's a lot of money.
Yeah,
to get Lucy in 2015.
Yep.
So yeah.
So 8 rounds.
8 rounds.
So for everyone out there who may be dealing with this or could deal, like I said, I don't know where I sit on this. Process, like 8 rounds, it's there's no guarantee in all of it. So while you may start questioning yourself after maybe 1, 2, 3 rounds, like Brad and his wife Kelly went through 8 rounds.
8 rounds. And don't get me wrong, Lachie, there's going to be people out there who've done many more than that. Over more years too, because again, they might not have backed up straight away and gone, hey, let's go again. So that could be a long process. And there's probably people who have been through triple that and do not have a baby.
Do you feel the experience made you guys, how was it for the relationship?
Geez, you'd have to ask Kelly that as well.
Yeah,
no, it definitely made us stronger.
You trying to play footsies with me under the table?
I think everyone that comes in here tries to play footsie with you.
No, I should have worn bare feet.
Should have been interviewing women.
Little footsies.
It definitely makes you stronger in aspects, but I think Kelly and I have already a nice, strong relationship, open in regards to what we talk about. So definitely in some ways it would have strengthened it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome that you come through that side. Talk about stress. Like, I can't remember who. Anyway, there was a gentleman that I was speaking to, and I remember they were trying. And I might be regurgitating one of your stories, but they were trying for kids for ages, and then we were going to look at the IVF route, but instead he took 3 months off work, and just the decrease in stress, and then he was just like 3 months later, bang, baby on the way.
I'm a big believer in a couple of things with IVF. Stress is definitely right up there. One of the top three things is a reason why people aren't. But you try and tell someone who has either have to go through the process to chill out. You can't, and that leads me probably into with the 8th round with Lucy. We were nearing the end. We're like, we're done with this.
Yep. So did you?
We did the 8th round. The embryo went into Kelly. Kelly went to the Sunshine Coast, and I spent a week and a half just laying there, doing nothing, chilling and relaxing.
Yeah.
I went to the Ashes and
chilled and relaxed.
I chilled and relaxed at the Ashes for 2 days.
Yeah.
I had a great time there. So I'm a big believer in that, but trying to tell people to chill out through that process is hard.
That probably highlights as well why it's, and we talk about this with mental well-being and emotional well-being strategies. Some people are currently dealing with mental illness or mental health challenges, others aren't, and some never have. But the importance of implementing some good practices or strategies so that if you do get confronted with it, you know how to, you can handle it. So as you were sort of, to tie it back in, try and tell someone who's going through IVF and they're on round 8 to say, hey, just relax a little bit. And you're like, motherfucker, this is costing me a fortune and it's my 8th try.
Yeah.
But if people have already been practicing mindfulness in some way or ways to minimize stress, they can sort of be on the same page and go, you know what, that actually, they understand stress and the negative impacts that it has on the body. Don't get me wrong, some stress is good, but the amount of stress a lot of people are living with is not healthy. So for those of you who are listening and maybe you wanted to have children in the future, I know for myself, and Amy and I got to have children, I'll be chilling. I will be, you won't see me, you won't hear any I'll be doing podcasts, but I'll be doing a lot of things to minimize stress. That's why for me, setting my life up to a point where I have a bit of choice and a bit of flexibility and financial backing is important for me, because I want to be able to ease off. So for yourself, obviously going to the Ashes was a way to de-stress, but were there any other things that you
back then
changed?
I wasn't doing any forms of meditation.
Yeah.
Things like I'm doing now, meditation, brain tap.
Yeah.
But if I'd known about those back then, I would have known about meditation and maybe practicing a little bit, but not like what I do now.
Yeah.
Especially the environment function well, promote that. But now, I'd be telling people or, saying to people, brain tap, meditate, take that time, take that half hour a day to chill, do those things that are going to help you.
Yeah.
But on top of that, still doing your exercise, still doing all those things to negate that stress that we talk about, that we know a lot more about these days.
Yeah. And probably also putting yourself in a financial position to be able to go through IVF. I'm not sure what the costs are, and you don't have to talk about that, but obviously there is a financial outlay involved. So once again, it's one of the reasons why finances is one of the 8 areas that all men must master, or couples must master in this instance, because we need choice. And if you want to have, if, like I said, if that option presents itself, are you going to be able to put yourself in that position without adding the financial stress to it? Because once again, we're looking at minimizing stress here and being comfortable through that process to give yourself the best chance. So we need to start connecting all those dots. And that's why, what we're doing with it in the circle now, we're building out modules, and you have, been able to add your experience and expertise in certain areas adds more layers to how we can empower men. But creating an overall vision for yourself, and why we want people to do that from, ideally, if you could do that at 18 or 13 or whatever, you're going to start being more aware of the implications or what you're trying to grow towards, the skills that you need to learn, finances, communication, minimizing stress, physical well-being, to give yourself the best shot at creating the life that you want. Because too many of us live short term, and when we get to the long term, we're freaking out, right? You might get to 50 and go, I wanted to retire in 10 years, but I have nothing behind me, no assets. So I'm going to have to probably commit to working until I'm 80 or 90. Not because I love what I do, but just because I need to live. Or you might be, and this is something that I guess frustrates me, is people don't take responsibility for their physical health. So we see people that are really overweight, right? They're not looking after their health, and once again, I used to punch a heap of drugs, used to smoke, used to drink. So it's like the pot, what's it, the kettle calling the pot black or fucking, whatever.
Pot calling kettle black.
Yeah. It's like that. But, the last 7 years I've really fixed up that because I became aware of the implications of what that could be doing for my health long term. But it's like, if we think about, we want to be a parent, you want to be a good role model, you want to be healthy, you want to be able to run around with your kids, you want to decrease your risk of metabolic health disease. So why aren't we looking after our health from a young age, or at least being mindful of it? Because when in 2015, when I first made my 10-year vision, health was a priority because I knew that's how I wanted to be as a parent. Because I see so many 50-year-old dudes shuffling, they can't play with their kids, and you're like, bro, you're 50. It's not that's not old.
Yeah.
It's young. And you're fucking useless. As much as that sounds bad, but essentially the quality of life is done unless you're going to look to improve it. So we need to start creating that vision for ourselves. That's what we do in the inner circle. Little plug there. But help you create it, because then you can start looking at a long-term vision for yourself, and rather than everything being overwhelming, it becomes bite-sized chunks on how you can improve who you are as an individual and the man that you want to become, so that you got a better shot at living that ideal life and creating what you want. But obviously after the 9th attempt or the 8th attempt, around that ballpark, your daughter was born.
Yep, we had Lucy.
Exciting.
Yeah, it was full on time. I just started with rugby league with strength and conditioning there. So yeah, there was a bit of a busy period, and we had a lot of help. Yep. There's no doubt about that. Like they say, it takes a village to raise a family, I think it is.
Yeah, well, yeah, that is it.
It's true. Support is so important. We basically, Cal's mum was always there. She, especially with the boys, pretty much lived with us for the first sort of year and a half to have that help, feeding 2 babies.
Wow.
Yeah, that's people forget about that sort of thing. How do you feed 2 babies, Is it done at the same time?
You should have got the plastic boob to strap on. Meet the fuckers.
That was the other thing. Kelly's milk never came in, so they were bottle fed.
Ah, interesting.
So they were powder form. So that is another thing I think. I'm pretty close with my kids. I got to feed them. And a lot of men feel that left out period, that first 9 months that you talk about.
Yeah. Well, so what do you do, mate? If you can't feed them, you sort of stand there as like a toy soldier on a bench.
Yeah, I think that's where men feel like they're left out. So
what
I was lucky enough to get to feed them. Not that other people don't get to do that, but quite often they're breastfed.
Yep.
Well, the
So
don't do it.
Had you not had the opportunity to do that, or that that's how the cards were dealt, so to speak, would there be anything you know now, knowing obviously that it's important for you to build that relationship from the get-go, that you would probably give your younger self if you... Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's sort of like that thing that I'm doing at the moment. You're spending 10 minutes with each kid a day.
Yeah.
You'd probably be trying to do that with your baby, even though if you're not breastfed. And yeah, I'm sure fathers do spend, but maybe they go, I'm going to do 30 minutes and I'm going to read a book to them.
Yep.
Something like
so
that.
They can get used to your voice.
Exactly. And do that every day.
Yep.
Every day. And that's just yours. No one else in the room. It's just you and the baby.
Mate, you should just put this podcast on repeat so they continually hear your voice.
They wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
Well, you could.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I would look back on and do that. And yeah, I got that time to feed the babies, and also obviously being a PT, you're working weird hours where you can be home at 2:00 in the afternoon, and perhaps you get to do that feed, where it's not that 9 till 5 job where you may not be home during the day to give that feed. Yeah.
That's a cool thing, even just touching on importance of taking on ownership for your lifestyle and thinking about, once again, I did a post on this sometime this week about like societal success, and we're all trying to tick the boxes, buy the house, go to uni, climb the corporate ladder, do this, but it's so many people, 84%, I think it was 84% of people are disengaged at work. Quite a high number, right? So that system clearly isn't working. So we need to redefine what those boxes are. And, one of the reasons why I started my own business was, and, I guess if we look at business as a win-win, the winning factor is I get to help people change their life, but it also allows me the lifestyle that I want to live. So I see that as a fucking win-win for sure.
Yeah.
And then you can build your life around that because, I look at yourself, like as you were just saying, you have the ability to be a bit more flexible. You can go home. I do, even now you do the drop-offs and all that sort of stuff, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Not a lot of dads got the opportunity to do that back in the day. So for me, that once again highlights why it's important to start thinking about from a younger age, but potentially what kind of lifestyle do you want before, it gets harder as you have kids or as you get a mortgage or various other responsibilities come in. So if we can think about this younger before you get that, you've got more control or there's less factors to think about before we make those.
You've processed it. You've thought about it. You've put in maybe in a plan of action.
Yeah, that could work. 100%. That's why it took me 7 years to propose because I wanted to make sure financially I was in a better position. I'd sorted my shit out and now I feel good.
Good.
It doesn't take everyone 7 years, but it took me that while because I was fucked up. But obviously then so Lucy was born and then 3 years or 2 and a bit? 3?
Yeah, 2 and a bit. So we had during that between the 8th and the 9th cycle. So the 8th one, like I said, we were probably ready to give up. Lucy, bingo, awesome. Job's done.
Yep.
We've got our little baby. I'm like, we're not doing that again. And guess what? There's an embryo in storage. There could have been 2 embryos in storage. So every round, except for the first one, we would always put 2 embryos in Kelly because there's more likelihood that you're going to produce one. One doesn't make it, one does make it. So we had 1 or 2 in storage. They went into Kelly. Didn't work. We were done. Finish. Our rule was, though, if one of us wanted to go again,
you had to
go again, and there was no argument.
It's awesome that you set these boundaries and expectations beforehand.
Absolutely. Yep. So that was, if you want to go again, if one of us wants to go again, we're going again. Kelly wanted to go again, and I remember going, no, we're done. We've got one. We're happy, we've got one. No, we've got to try one more time to try and give Lucy brother or sister. So went around. Again, how many embryos, I don't know, but there was 2. And they weren't high quality either. Okay, so let's say they were graded out of 5. So 5 being
so
good.
they can grade your...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they can grade the embryo. Once it's, put and grown and done its thing.
Did you have to have your sperm retested and stuff? Or
I know I did a few times,
Yep.
But it was just that one time, I think, before the 3rd or 4th round that we had it checked again, and that's when I made the improvement.
That's epic.
Yeah.
Stallion.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see it now.
Mate, you're stronger than ever at the moment. You would be on fire. Look out.
No, take COVID out of it. So, we had 2 and put them in, and what do you know? We 2 start doing their thing. So, Kelly's pregnant with 2. The interesting part was we think we had, in those 1 to 8 cycles, we probably had 3 miscarriages where they said, bingo, you're on here. And then, the 5th week, 6th week mark, they'd say the number's coming down and probably not going to get that. So, we had that. And I think Kelly bled on those, so she knew she'd lost them. Anyway, so we got the 2. Yeah, you've got 2. And then she bled. So basically, we're like, she's lost them. So we emergency see one of the doctors to get it tested. And we're all already thinking, okay, it hasn't happened. We're done. We're flying to Sydney this weekend.
Party.
We're having a good weekend. That's what we're doing. So had to go through the process. Anyway, so Kelly goes in, lies down, and he's swirling around on his stomach, having a look. And I'm looking up at the screen, and the doctor just looks at us and he goes, well, you know what's going on there. And he said that, and at the same time, I saw 2 beats or 2 movements, whatever, your beats.
The boys are inside high-fiving.
And I was like, fuck. Like this. And he goes, yes, I've heard that before. And he goes, I'm going to leave you and let you process this. And the doctor started walking out. Kelly's lying there going, what's going on? I was like, there's 2 there, Kelly. So we had 2. And there was some complications from them, but some minor complications. But from then on, we had 2 on the way.
Got the boys.
Yeah, and I just remember going, we've got to get 1 out of this.
Yeah.
It's not a very good way to think about it, but that's how I thought about it at the time.
Yeah.
We're going to get 1 out of this. We're right. So, and now I've got Toby and Ryder.
They're legends.
2 different boys. They're twins, but they're 2 different boys. Yeah.
They're unreal though.
Yeah.
And that was, so like looking back, advice or steps for people who maybe are at where you were back in, let's say 2014?
So that was sort of that
before
2013 we sort of started that process. Think of ways you can improve your lifestyle.
Yep.
Read as much as you can, because that's what we did. We sat back and we did a lot of reading on how could we make ourselves healthier? What could we do? Who could we go see? We were going, the money we spent on supplements, it was crazy, trying to make sure everything was in us. We had the right zinc. We got that, right through to, Kelly went to acupuncture after acupuncture.
Yeah.
So it's finding what you think. Do your own research.
Yep.
To find out what you think may help you in the cause. And probably go back to what we talked about before. Find ways that help you de-stress. It's a fact that stress is some of the issue, but how you negate that, you've got to find what works for you.
What so all these random questions are coming. Like, was there any questions that you wanted answered from an early period in this that you didn't have answers for that you could probably highlight or, I guess, elaborate on for people?
Well, probably one of them was going back to what I said about I was able to improve my sperm. Yep. I was able to, the quality of them got better.
And had they said it's not possible? Or what?
He hadn't seen an improvement like that from what I was. Yeah. I'm sure there has been improvements like that. Mm-hmm. But the other thing, what you got to remember, they only need 1 sperm.
Yeah.
They only need one quality sperm to put in to make that embryo to put into the body. So if you can make the quality of them better, there's different ways to extract that.
Yep.
So you got to find, make a way or find a way to get more quality. So are you going to go organic and eat organic food? We ate a lot more organic food.
Yep.
But alcohol,
gone. 100%. Yeah. Alcohol doesn't really seem to serve a purpose for much. Like, it's a good time, and there's obviously a lot of social constructs around it, but in terms of mental well-being and physical health and obviously sexual health even, it's like not giving yourself the best chance to improve those factors.
Yeah, not at all. So, do your own research, find someone who's been through it and ask them questions. And that's one of the reasons you got me on here talking about it today. Yeah. Amongst our men, we will have a number. I know of a few already, and that's just, I don't even know a little bit of the group. So hopefully they approach us, they want to talk about it, because I've got no problems.
Yeah, I'm not the expert here. So for those men who want to reach out to Brad, I definitely do. So you can obviously join the free Facebook group, and for those who are in the free Facebook group, reach out to Brad, have these conversations. I'm sure, I wish I had more questions in my head to ask you, because I'm sure there's people listening to this going, ask this, and I wish I could, but for the moment my brain's tapped out with, I guess...
and there's so many tangents to the story, Lachie, I could go on, that led us to Lucy, Toby and Ryder. But
I think to sum, from listening to you, one thing that I guess I've taken away from it is that you never blamed yourself, which is, I see. And once again, that victim mindset in any element of your life doesn't serve a purpose. It may make you feel good in the moment because you've got someone to blame.
Yeah.
But the moment that you take responsibility, you can, like you did, you started getting all the supplements. You started doing everything within your power to give yourself the best shot at getting the result that you wanted. Right? Even to that point, though, nothing was guaranteed. You had 8 or 9 attempts before it became a true thing. So for all of you guys out there, understand that nothing's guaranteed. You got to make sure that you're giving yourself the best shot. So start thinking about, is what you're doing today going to allow you to have the results that you want in the future? And it isn't, people go, oh, if I can deal with that, when I deal with that. Good luck. Like, why do we see so many people who are unhealthy, unhappy, and their life isn't where they want it to be? Because they don't take responsibility for moving, I guess, guiding the compass where they want it to go. Right, so that's what I took away from yourself and Kelly is, you were able to process, I guess, the setbacks really well. Yeah. You were able, rather than dwell for too long. And once again, I'm not saying that's a standard that everyone should live by. Everyone's experience is completely unique, but I feel, being able to turn that around in a short amount of time and move on to the next round, that's unreal. But also taking ownership and working on the things that are in your control, which has now got you a lovely family.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
It's amazing. Like we just said, the boys turned 4 on Saturday, you know, like 4 years. And that's why we've sort of, to a degree, blocked out what happened.
Yeah, well, I think it's you focusing on
forward, not back.
Yeah, not back. Like everyone has setbacks and challenges, but once it's all perspective, right? And you've got an incredible family, and you want to enjoy those moments. And it doesn't the fact that you went through IVF doesn't define you. It's you got the result that you guys were looking for, a family.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get to be a fucking role model, man. Well, you already were, but like you know what I mean. Like you get to have a significant influence over 3 young people.
Mini-me's.
Mini-me's, mini Bradleys, flipping hell. Mate, but thank you so much. And honestly, to your wife, Kelly, because I'll make sure you guys approve this before we go live. For those who are listening to this now, it's been approved, hopefully. But I appreciate you guys sharing your experience and story, because I know there's so many people who are going through this, and there's just so many questions. So once again, if you do have questions for Brad, you can find Brad on Instagram. What's your handle?
Coach Brad Munro.
Coach Brad Munro. You can also find him in the Man That Can Project's Facebook communities. He's also one of the leaders in our Inner Circle program. And, slowly but surely he's going to be running more workshops and talks. So if you guys want Brad to run talks on the 8 areas that all men must master, or even just get him to talk about that experience for those who would benefit from that, reach out to us at the Man That Can Project. But you can find all of that www.themanthatcanproject.com.
Yes.
And please like this podcast, share it, and bloody subscribe, because we'll have heaps more incredible guests. But also, for those who want to send some rapid fire questions to Brad, we can always do a number 2, because we're always here. But just even other topics, Brad will be coming on the show to do that. So thanks for coming on, mate.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Man That Can Project podcast. My name is Lachie Stuart, and I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful. If you did, please take a moment to rate and review the Man That Can Project on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with our newest episodes. We'll see you again next time.